Is this going to get better or worse? Will this actually fix some of the problem? Let's discuss. Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another coffee rant with Dano and Frank, the Patriot Bald Eagle here. Tonight we are drinking 8 o'clock coffee. If you have to hit pause on this video to get your coffee or whatever beverage you deem necessary, go ahead and do that now, as this will be a lengthy discussion. One of the many topics over the last few years has been employee shortages, right? We've talked a lot about employee shortages on the channel here. Things that, why do we have these now hiring signs, yet these companies don't seem like they're hiring, right? Something we've talked a lot about. There's multiple reasons for this. Ones I will try not to bore you with, other than the fact is that this is kind of the norm now. We're seeing now hiring signs everywhere, still 2.5 years later, 3 years later, and yet we hear the same things from all different kinds of employees, all different kinds. I've talked to a lot of people. Grocery stores, and if you're new to the channel, this is what we cover on the channel here, is mostly things that have to do with food, trying to keep you in the know of everything going on with price increases, food shortages, and beyond. One thing that we can't forget about is employee shortages. Now, this creates a bad situation for a lot of long-time employees that have worked in the same companies for years. I won't name any specific company, but you have a lot of different grocery stores, a lot of retail, a lot of places that, not sure what the minimum wage is, but traditionally when you start out at one of these type of jobs, you're not making a lot of money. Okay. Now, over the last few months, we have been in contact with some people. We've talked to some people, and it seems like we get the same old story, that hours have been cut. Hours have been cut for a lot of people, making it to where some people have to get a second job. Now, in 2023, we shouldn't have to do that. However, when you mix in all of the different price increases on food and life itself, rent, cars, housing, the $10.45 minimum wage that it's gonna be raised to $10.45 at the stroke of midnight, January 1st, here in Ohio. And I thought to myself, $10.45. First of all, it's my belief that the company should hold their minimum wage. When we force things on people, that makes it to where, okay, you're forcing this on me. Now I have an excuse to cut these guys' hours, right? Because we have to make up the difference. They're not going to take a loss. They're going to pass that off. And when I say they, I mean pretty much every company out here, right? Because it's a business. Kroger is a business. Meijer is a business. Walmart is a business. The reason why I am talking about this today is because I think it's a bit of an issue that should be on the local level and not state level. Or I know you want to keep it away from all different levels of government, and you should keep it in the realm of the employer. If Kroger wants to hire people for $8 an hour, well, they're going to really struggle, because nobody's going to work for that. Nobody can afford to work for that. Well, now you're forcing minimum. I don't know what you start out at Kroger. I have to imagine that it's actually more than $10.45. How would they have any employees? How can you afford the crazy rent prices that are going on right now, or be able to ever buy a house? It's impossible. It's impossible. The thing is that I know that whenever a business is forced to do something, you want to look like you're trying, right? Which I believe is part of the reason why we see all these now hiring signs, yet all we ever hear about is stacks of applications, right? Because we see it all the time. I don't see many new people in the places that I go to, and I don't see anybody that's really quitting. So that kind of tells me a couple different things. The long-time workers that it's at some of these places are getting a good, decent wage for what they're doing, right? These places are paying people for the longevity of them working there, the seniority. You've done your job well. I mean, there has to be reasons. Now, one big reason is probably because you don't want to have to look for another job. Nobody wants to have to look for another job. It's almost to the point to where, and I know a lot of people that have second jobs, and they love it because they're making more money. They're actually able to put food on the table and go to the store and not worry too much about the prices because you're working your tail off every day to put food on the table. I met a guy the other day. He works at a supermarket in the afternoon. He gets up at 4 in the morning to work his other job. And I won't say what jobs they are, but he literally works like 16 hours a day. 16 hours a day. That leaves you with 8 hours of sleep. And I guarantee you this guy's not sleeping 8 hours. Because what do you got to do? You got to do laundry. You got to do, you got to eat. You got to have a little bit of time. Don't know whether the guy is single or has a family. But if you have a family, then you got to have a little bit of time for them as well. 16 hours a day, guys. And now, and that's different than if you were to work another job. I know people down at the Kroger plant who work overtime. They make good money for that, right? They're making great money. But when you are going from one job to the other, you're not getting overtime. You're probably at a little less hours than you were, at one job, forcing you to have to get that second job. And that's just an example. I don't know if this was the guy specifically that I talked to, but I just thought to myself, boy, you have no time to yourself. No time to clear your head. You're constantly working. Guys, I think moving into 2024 here is going to be a rough ride. And I've said this a lot, especially with food shortages that we've been seeing, price increases at the grocery store that are only going up. Somebody asked me the other day, left a comment saying, do I think that a lot of these other things besides meats and stuff are going to be going up? Everything is going to be going up. Everything. I have no reason not to believe that other things aren't going to be going up as well. Candy bars, microwave meals. One of our longtime viewers asked if I could check out some of the different prices on some of the microwave meals and stuff like that. She has trouble cooking. Some people are disabled. I think a lot of our, some of our viewers forget that. That's why I point out a lot of these different type of meals. Doesn't matter whether me or Jessica eat them or not. We're pointing these things out for you guys on a daily basis because you ask us to, and we try to find, the best prices that we can on some of these things so that we can save you money. Because if you're out there working for $10.45 an hour, I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine making that right now. I mean, if you're 15 or 16 years old and you're living at home, which apparently that's only going up to the 85% of that, which I'm not sure, what, $8 an hour? If you're 15 or 16 years old. If you're 15 or 16, you can work at some jobs in Ohio. You can get some jobs, which I do believe, the younger generation should get a job. Now, I had a job when I was 15, 16. I did some work and stuff. It's good, especially in this day and age. Because I feel bad for our younger generations here because they're going to have to learn really quick. They're going to have to learn that you don't have a choice. This is what you have to do. And you better do it quick. I can only imagine being in college right now and trying to figure out how to get by, especially if you don't have like a scholarship or some different, other way of income of making that happen. That's why, anytime I've ever come in contact with, with younger kids that are going into college or different things like this, I say, make sure you know right away what you're going to do for the rest of your life. And if you're not going to do it, don't do it because you're just going to waste your time and you're going to waste money. A lot of people, and if you're set on what you're going to do, and you know that this is going to be it for the rest of your life, then do it. Having a college degree is still good. You can make a lot of money, but make sure you're going to make that money in the back end because you're going to be paying off those bills for years to come. I've even, some people I've talked to, over the years through different family and friends, some people don't like the hard truth, right? Some people, maybe college isn't for you, or maybe you should look at this a different way. Oh, so you want to work as a mechanic. You like working with cars. Go to a trade school, Make sure that you're getting the right kind of information, you're getting certified for that kind of information, and you're doing it for as cheap as possible. Because if this is something you're going to do the rest of your life, you don't want to be paying off these crazy bills the rest of your life. I read a couple articles on the minimum wage going up in Ohio, and I just thought to myself, like, all you're going to do is upset a lot of different employers. We already had this last year, and we saw a significant amount of hours cut with employees that a lot of different companies are doing. And again, I won't name which specific companies, but you probably know which ones, if not all. And it's something we need to look at in the future here, because the more and more these companies have other ways of spending money, the more and more they're going to dish it out to everybody. And we're seeing this every day. We're seeing this every day. And I could break it down like I do in pretty much every coffee rant we have. Prices could get absolutely insane. And I know that sounds scary, and it is. It really is. But the immediate action that we have to take now has to be very quickly. If you are not prepared, if you are not making sure that you have some extra items while at least the prices are what they are. I can't even say from what the prices were 2 years ago. We have to say what the prices were last week. That's how fast we're seeing things go up. We always talk about being stocked up on things, always have like an eagle eye when you're in the stores and you see things that are a good deal, and that you should get them if you're going to use it in the future. Because all these things, and that's kind of what I'm getting at with the employee shortages that we constantly see all around the country and around the world, it's the same story, guys. It's not just here in America. It's Canada, it's Australia, the UK. It's happening everywhere. These employee shortages keep coming up. And I may not talk about it as much as I probably should. But, the thing is that I don't feel like it's necessarily all the person's fault, right? Because these things are happening that are out of your control, that are in control of the companies. Now the companies are going to be forced. And the thing is most companies probably, especially, if they have to pay more than $10.45 an hour, right? That's why I think it's kind of a joke. But it's kind of a slap in the face, because now as the owner of this company, now you're telling me that I'm forced to do something? I try to look at it from both points of view. I try to look at it from the business point of view. It's like, hey, I already pay my guy, $15, $16 an hour. Does this mean that I have to pay him more? No, but all those guys that are coming in that you've paid at the starting pay of whatever minimum wage is now, you're going to have to pay them more. And it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell how this is going to turn out, but the knowing or the not knowing, again, as I always say, is the knowing that we need to be prepared in the future for these things. I was talking to a buddy of mine a while back. This was a while, and you're trying to figure out if he wanted to just get another job. He's been at his job for a long time. He worked his way up, and, is making decent money. I won't say what he's making and all that, but the same company had started hiring people for a quarter more than what he makes, and he's been there for years. Now, he has since got a pay raise, which is not much, but it kind of makes you feel less valued. So we have to come back into a balance of where the value is and where your employers who have been very loyal to you. I don't really know where, we've gotten a lot of comments on some heartfelt stories of people losing their jobs and all this stuff over the last couple months. And I just wanted to talk about this because I read in this report of minimum wage going up in Ohio, and I just thought to myself, this is like a slap in the face. This is like, why? Because is that what McDonald's starts you out at? I don't know any company around here, and I gotta be honest, I don't really know. But who the heck can work for $10.45 an hour? And is that going to bring a lot of people being upset? because that's not what they started out. Now, times are different. Prices have gone up. You got to kind of match things with grocery prices. But again, how can you afford to eat? I haven't done all the math on it. I just wanted to have this conversation with you guys about this tonight because, for one, we get a lot of comments on it. Two, recently have gotten a lot of comments of people who have lost their jobs, trying to figure out how they're going to put food on the table. And this is becoming a recurring comments on the channel. So I feel it's something we do have to discuss. I don't know where this is going to lead with the minimum wage increase, but I know it's all over the place. I know that they're talking about it on the Idiot Box like nothing else is going on. Where's all the recalls? Where's all the recalls? You can't talk about a recall? Let me tell you this. You know that Wanna-Banna cinnamon applesauce recall? It must still be it must still be huge, right? We haven't looked it up, but I'm willing to bet that that's a lot bigger than they even were willing to admit. I finally saw that on the news this morning. If you live in Cincinnati, you probably know which news station I'm talking about. Finally saw that on the news this morning. Oh, what, a month and a half later? And it could have been on the news before, but it wasn't getting a lot of traction. Didn't see it in any kind of articles on any news stations. Only that it came up in the FDA, right? All of this stuff, guys, I just feel like this is just one more piece to the hurricane of events of what we're just going to have to deal with, and another example of why we need to pay attention. We need to stay prepared. We need to make sure that we're buying up the sales as we see them. Because that is going to be, and we talked about this the other day in another video, this is going to be forced on us. We're going to be forced to only have to shop the sales. To only shop the sales because nobody's going to be able to afford anything else. And again, it's not to scare you. It's to make aware, right? We're making aware this is only going up, right? We're here, and this continues to rise. I can afford this, right? I can afford this right here. What happens when it gets up to here? When everything is doubled or tripled? I was amazed. I've gotten a couple emails from some people, and I've been so busy, wrapped up with all of these different videos and just trying to put this information out here as fast as I can. It's amazing a lot of the different products that have doubled in price over the last year. Now, inflation isn't as bad as it was at the end of 2021 and into 2022. I think that's kind of funny, though, because we saw the huge surge in prices where things went nuts back before all this, before the inflation. Now, yes, I know we'll get comments, so you already know that inflation numbers and food numbers don't go hand in hand, right? But, whatever it is, food prices, we hear inflation's coming down. Still inflation, right? 4%. I don't care what you say. Anything over 1% inflation is still inflation. That means things are still going up. Might be at a slower rate. Might be 10 cents this month. That's why I said we need to pay attention to this stuff, guys. We need to pay attention to the 5 and 10 cent price increases, because when you see the 80-cent price increase, you realize, wow, I could have really saved on some of this stuff. I can't unsee these things. I can't unsee these things at the store. I guess when it comes down to, we have to pay attention. As I always say, we have to pay attention to these things going on. If you are looking for a new job, if you are one of those out there, they claim that there's jobs everywhere. Yet we still have thousands of people that have commented over the last year that they can't get a job. Why is that? Why is that? Because they're lying. They're lying to you. It's plain and simple. I know we have a lot of viewers since the last time I mentioned this, but Jessica's friend's son could not get a job around here. This is a good kid. Now, he's just been a while. Okay, we talked about this a while ago. He couldn't get a job. We're now hiring signs everywhere. He's a good kid. Straight A student. And yet nobody would call him back. It's going to continue to get worse in this, right? We're not seeing it get any better. We keep hearing hundreds of stories on this same thing, on this same exact thing. I don't see it getting any better. Is it going to get worse? Prices are. Hopefully, where's the job creation? I don't know. We see all these different plants and everything. We see all these places closing. We see all these, maybe people are just getting out. Maybe they're done. Maybe it's not worth it for them to stay in business. We see a lot of businesses come and go, and they're never going to say until they're ready to close the doors whether they're closing. And then that forces you to, there's been a few people on our channel here that have either had to move, relocate their families. And I know this stuff happens, but not at the rate that it's happened over the last couple of years. Never. This is beyond out of control. We'll continue to keep you updated on all of this going on here. As far as the different employee shortages, people were asking what I thought about it. That's what I think, guys. I mean, this is a full-on, mostly, other than some of the facts that we've thrown in here, this is mostly my opinion video here. This is an opinionated coffee rant. I don't see it getting any better. And I don't, we'll see. Over the last few years, it hasn't gotten any better. It's only gotten worse. We see new places with now hiring signs. We've seen now hiring signs in the same places, in the same spots that has dust covered over the now hiring. Probably can't even read it. It's so dirty. I don't know. And I'm not blaming all businesses for this at all, right? But around here, that's kind of how it's been. I remember when we were down in Tennessee. Me and Jessica have been down to Tennessee twice. Now, it does seem like there are a lot more employees working down in the Pigeon Forge area and all that stuff. But I remember the year before that, it was not good. There was a lot of people. And even to this day, there's not as many as there used to be. Okay? The last time we went, definitely like places like the Old Mill, right? Very popular restaurant in Pigeon Forge. It was still not as many employees working there. And you can tell because usually there's 100 employees in there working at a time. It was definitely not that busy. Guys, we need to pay attention. We got to make sure that we are stocking up on the sales as we see them. I know I sound like a broken record, but it's never been more important than now because, we're seeing prices go up at Kroger again. We're seeing them go up at Meijer. We're seeing some, I would say, like Sam's Club. Yeah, some of the usuals are still going up, like produce and things. No sales on coffee, though. No sales on coffee. We're going to be going into that in another coffee rant here, probably this weekend, on different shortages that we're seeing and sale prices that are not on sale. We're seeing things that just aren't a good deal anymore. But we will continue to keep you informed on all of this information as we go along. I will continue to visit the stores to try and help save you as much money as possible. Make sure you are subscribed down below. Don't forget to post your comments, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great night.